the early 16th century, Europe was a tinderbox of religious tension. Imagine a world where the Catholic Church held sway over the spiritual and often the political lives of the people. A world where the Church's absolute power was unquestioned and its influence omnipresent. Yet beneath this veneer of religious conformity, discontent was brewing. The sale of indulgences, a practice where sins were essentially bought off, had become a contentious issue. People began to question the morality of such practices and the righteousness of a church that permitted them. Calls for reform grew louder, echoing through the hallowed halls of cathedrals and the bustling streets of European cities. And it wasn't just the common folk. Among those calling for change was a German monk named Martin Luther. In the year 1517, Luther nailed his 95 Theses to the door of a church in Wittenberg, igniting the spark of the Reformation. While Luther's actions were causing shockwaves across Europe, a separate Reformation was brewing in England. The English Reformation was less about religious doctrine and more about power and politics. The catalyst, a royal love affair. King Henry VIII, a man of deep religious conviction and a staunch defender of the Catholic Church, found himself in a predicament. He was desperate to secure a male heir to the throne, but his wife, Catherine of Aragon, had failed to provide one. Henry's eyes had wandered to Anne Boleyn, a woman he believed could give him the son he craved. He sought an annulment to his marriage, but there was a roadblock: Pope Clement VII. Pope Clement VII, under immense pressure from the Holy Roman Emperor, who happened to be Catherine's nephew, refused to grant the annulment. Henry was infuriated. He decided to take matters into his own hands and in a bold move broke away from the Catholic Church. This was not a simple process. It required political maneuvering and legal machinations. The English Parliament passed a series of laws that reduced the power of the Pope and increased the authority of the King. The most significant of these was the Act of Supremacy, passed in 1534. The Act of Supremacy declared King Henry VIII the supreme head of the Church of England. This act not only severed ties with the Roman Catholic Church, but also gave Henry the power to reform the Church as he saw fit. It was a radical shift in power, transforming the king from a secular ruler to a spiritual one as well. In the years that followed, the Church of England evolved, reflecting the changing beliefs and priorities of the monarchs who succeeded Henry. Some leaned towards Protestantism, others towards Catholicism, but all maintained the autonomy of the Church of England, free from the control of Rome. Thus, the Church of England was born, marking a significant turning point in English history. The English Reformation had profound implications, not only for religion, but also for the monarchy, the legal system, and the English people themselves. The Reformation had profound and lasting impacts on the religious, political, and social landscape of Europe. One of the most significant effects was the ushering in of religious freedom, a radical concept in a time when the Catholic Church held sway over spiritual matters. The Reformation challenged the Church's monopoly on faith, laying the groundwork for the freedom to practice different religions that we enjoy today. Not only did it revolutionize religious thought, but it also spurred the rise of nationalism. As nations broke away from the Catholic Church, they began to form unique identities, separate from their religious affiliations. This marked the beginning of the modern nation-state system, which we still see in effect today. The Reformation also heralded the decline of the Catholic Church's power. No longer the unchallenged authority, the Church had to contend with the growing influence of Protestantism. This shift in power dynamics forever altered the structure of European society. Turning our gaze to England, the Reformation led to the dissolution of monasteries and the establishment of Protestantism. Monasteries, once powerful bastions of the Catholic Church, were dismantled, their wealth and lands redistributed. Meanwhile, Protestantism took root, fundamentally changing the religious fabric of the country. The Reformation forever changed the face of Christianity and left an indelible mark on the course of world history. Its impacts were far-reaching and profound, reshaping Europe and paving the way for the modern world we know today. In the span of a few decades, the Reformation drastically altered the religious map of Europe. Let's remember the discontent that bubbled within the Catholic Church, sparking the rise of Martin Luther. Recall how Henry VIII broke from Rome, birthing the Church of England. Consider, too, the profound impacts of the Reformation, which rippled across continents and through centuries. The Reformation, a seismic shift in religious thought and authority, continues to resonate in our world today.